Hello, everybody. Welcome to stage 39. This is the first about the language, and it's on fear clauses, or as your book calls them, fearing clauses. Sometimes you say clauses of fearing. Um, Now, when we look at all of these examples, timeo, nay, blah, blah, blah. Timebat, Jupiter, nay, blah, blah, blah. Quintilianus, verator, nay, blah, blah, blah. Glabrio, timebat, nay, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully, I'm a broken record because the biggest thing that I want you to see with these fear classes is that they look, when you got nay, now it's not always nay, even though the first four examples are nay, and I'll give you one down here we've got oot, and here we've got oot. But they should look pretty close to purpose clauses, which also use oot and nay. There's another subjunctive clause, you remember what it is, that also uses oot and nay. Now, result clauses use oot, but when they do not use nay, so there's one more result, one more purpose clause, one more subjunctive clause in addition to purpose that uses both oot and nay. I wonder if you can remember what that is. That's right, it's indirect commands, right? Tell you something. I order you to do something or order you not to do something. The other thing that I hope that you see is timeo and then whereor. Now, both of these verbs, what do they mean? Yeah, I mean, you can see I am afraid, to be afraid, to fear. Okay, so that makes sense, right? It's a fear clause, so it starts out with a verb that means I'm afraid of or I fear. Now, the number one thing that I want you to take away from this, the number one thing I want you to remember about fear clauses and being able to kind of like recognize them and translate them, because this is a hugely impactful part of the translation process, is that the oot and the nay are kind of flip-flopped. So notice when I'm saying timeo nay, you're saying, I am afraid that something is going to happen, right? I'm afraid that Britain is restless, or would be, or may be restless. Okay? Jupiter was afraid that the gods would be destroyed, would be consumed by the same fire. Quintilian is afraid that the boys did not please or have not pleased Domitian. So notice in other clauses, oot is the signal word there, but this is opposite. This is nay. Now, if that seems weird, there's a really good reason for that. I'm going to pause for a second. I wonder if you can figure out maybe why that might be the case, because there's a really good reason. Okay, here it is. Here it is. When you say timeo, when you say I am afraid that, what you're really saying is I hope that something doesn't happen. Okay, so let's ground this in a real example. I am afraid that everyone is going to fail the test. I'm not really, because I know you're awesome, but I'm afraid that everyone's going to fail the test. What you're saying is I hope that everyone does not fail the test, right? So that's why the nay and the oot are flip-flopped here. Okay, so two big things introduced by a fear verb, and then oot and nay are flipped. Okay, you can see an example where oot is so that not, right? So Quintilian is afraid that the boys, and then ut placuerint, have not pleased Domitian. So it takes something getting used to, but of course the context really helps you out, right? Quintilian would never be afraid that the boys pleased Domitian. That wouldn't make any sense. Okay, so we've got our examples here, and notice again, timeo ne, verita est ne, timebamus ne. Now here, for the sake of, I think just the sake of variety, Cambridge is showing you a fourth example that's sort of on the fringes of like what could introduce a fear clause. Anxia eras. Now the nay here just shows you that it is a question, right? It's a yes or no question. But do we know what anxia eras means? Give that a shot. Yeah, now it's a question, right? So were you worried? Were you anxious? Okay, now with oot here, are we saying were you worried that something is going to happen or something is not going to happen? Now remember the oot and the nay are flipped, right? So were you worried that I would not take you away from these terrible things? So right, so that something doesn't happen. Were you anxious that I would not take you away from these terrible things? Let's go back up to A here. So timeo, right? So I am afraid, I fear. Now, what does this nay mean? Does this nay mean I'm afraid that something is going to happen or something is not going to happen? Okay, so I'm afraid that the mortal race would try to deceive the gods. So we're afraid that something is going to happen. All right. So again, fear clauses. They look like purpose clauses or indirect commands, but they're introduced by a fear verb. And then what's that really big thing about ut and ne? In your own words, tell me what's that really big thing that we need to remember about ut and ne? That's right. That the ut and ne are flipped. They're flip flopped. Good. Good luck.